They say the zone shows no mercy, an untamed realm where factions lock horns over scraps of territory or the glitter of rare artifacts. But hidden far from the common paths, deep in these nearly impassable wetlands, stood Clear-Sky, a faction that never saw the zone as a prize to be seized, but as an enigma to be deciphered. They were scientists, thinkers, and a handful of soldiers who had learned to hold a rifle steady enough to survive. Beyond their aim lay a grander ambition, to unravel the secrets of this bizarre frontier, and perhaps, in time, to heal it. If you aren't already, please consider subscribing, as we have slowly chipped from 2% to 2.7% subscribed watch time. I try to upload about 2 or 3 times weekly, and plan to expand to content not just covering S.T.A.L.K.E.R in the near future. They chose the swamps for refuge, a place no one cared to search, where thick layers of algae and creeping fog masked their presence. But living in obscurity brought hardships. Supply lines were always tenuous, spare parts were scarce, and every scrap of intelligence had to be earned through long nights of observation and careful measurement. While other factions gorged themselves on artifacts, Clear-Sky cataloged anomalies, sketching shifting energy fields into notebooks, and tried to understand why the zone existed at all. As a result, their camp resembled more of a field research station than a fortress. Makeshift labs powered by sputtering generators, meticulous notes pinned to wooden walls, and improvised equipment humming under tarps of weathered cloth. For a time, this quiet labor paid off. They charted how anomalies moved after each minor emission, noticed patterns in how mutants roamed the reed-choked shallows, and recorded subtle shifts in radiation pockets. But the zone does not reward understanding without challenge. One day, a massive emission struck, a blinding fury that shook the swamps like an angry god's roar. It twisted anomalies into shapes they had never seen, wiped out precious data, and, like a broken dam, let renegades flood into Clear-Sky's sanctuary. In response, the faction rallied with what they had, not brute force, but cunning. They ambushed intruders from behind camouflaged observation posts, and used their intimate knowledge of anomaly fields to lure enemies into deadly traps. Many Clear-Sky members took up arms with trembling hands, as they had spent more hours with instruments than with firearms. Still, they prevailed, just barely. In the aftermath, the swamps bore scars of combat. Scorched wooden planks, shattered binocular lenses, and torn pages from notebooks drifting in muddy pools. But there was a new figure among them now, Scar, a mercenary discovered alive after that monstrous emission, against all logic. He arrived at their doorstep like a wounded stray animal, broken yet breathing, when no one else should have survived. His nervous system was damaged, the emission having etched invisible marks into his very cells. As a result, Clear-Sky saw more than just a lost soul. Scar represented a living clue, a man who could endure the zone's wrath. They convinced him to aid their cause, hoping his resilience might tilt the scales in their favor. With Scar's help, they pushed back the renegades and patched together some semblance of order. Under the dim glow of hanging lamps, Clear-Sky's leaders, Lebedev, Suslov, and Kalancha, pored over fresh data. Days bled into nights as they connected dots that no one else had even noticed. The recent emissions, they concluded, were not random thunderbolts of horror, but something or someone had triggered them by trespassing into the zone's forbidden heart. If these intruders were not stopped, the entire region would grow ever more unstable, unleashing horrors that no faction could withstand. Consequently, Clear-Sky faced a grim choice: remain hidden and watch the zone degrade into madness, or venture forth, confront these unknown stalkers, and risk everything to restore balance. They chose the latter path, and in hushed whispers around a campfire, they made their vow: to leave the swamps and push toward the zone's deadly center. This meant stepping into contested territories, abandoned cities, and forests warped by radiation. But this was no simple journey. As they inched beyond their watery haven, they met stiff resistance. Bandits who were eager to plunder their gear, monolith zealots who cared for neither reason nor mercy, and military patrols that branded Clear-Sky as potential threats. Each firefight sapped their dwindling supplies, and with each casualty, it weighed heavier on their hearts. In response, they relied on their unique strengths, intimate knowledge of anomaly patterns, finely tuned detectors, and carefully modded weapons that could outmaneuver more brutish foes. Progress came in increments. They reached Limansk, a half-ruined settlement strangled by creeping vegetation and roamed by sharpshooters hidden in shattered windows. But Limansk was only a stepping stone. Past it lay the Red Forest, its trees twisted into silent witnesses of old sins, and beyond that, a crumbling hospital ward crawling with monolith elites who guarded the path to Chernobyl's core. Clear Sky's best fighters slipped through the rubble, their footsteps hushed by the knowledge that failure would mean not just death, but the end of their dream. As a consequence, every foot of ground gained like a chapter written in blood and sweat. Yet they pressed onward, certain that stopping these mysterious intruders would quell the catastrophic emissions and give the zone a chance at stability. At last they stood near the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, a place where reality itself bent under psychic pressures. But here their quest collided headlong with destiny. The sea consciousness, some whispered it was the zone's mind. Others said it was a collective of twisted human intellect, could sense their approach. It would not let them rewrite the rules. With a roar more deafening than any storm, a final cataclysmic emission erupted. Shockwaves tore through concrete walls. Men screamed as their minds and bodies were flung into chaos. Because of this, Clear Sky's ranks vanished like autumn leaves in a hurricane. Some rumored that the few survivors were absorbed into the monolith cult, and others said they were swallowed by the zone's psychic maw, never to return. When silence fell, Clear Sky was no more than a memory drifting in the contaminated air. Their gear scattered, their leaders gone, their painstaking research swept away. But echoes lingered. A rare piece of CS-3A armor found its way into distant hands. The advanced EM-1 rifle they once wielded as a prototype would inspire fearsome Gauss rifles in Monolith's arsenal. Survivors like Nimble and Novikov wandered off into the zone's tapestry of factions, Nimble becoming a dealer of rare goods, and Novikov offering technical expertise to scientists at Yanov. As a result, Clear Sky survived only in fragments and whispers, scraps of knowledge exchanged at campfires, and half-remembered stories told by weary travelers. The swamps, once their hidden realm, returned to quiet desolation. Muted bird calls, faint insect chatter, and the soft bubble of swamp gas replaced the hum of scientific equipment. But if you stand on a broken walkway at sunrise, when mist drapes the landscape like a shroud, you might recall their story. You might imagine their researchers hunched over measurement devices, their guards scanning the horizon for threats, and their leaders dreaming of a day when the zone could be understood rather than feared. This was Clear Sky. Not conquerors, but seekers. Not villains, but imperfect guardians who tried to decode a world that defied reason. They were not saints, just flawed humans who believed knowledge could triumph where bullets failed. But in the end, the zone punished their ambition. Yet their memory endures, reminding anyone who dares to listen that the greatest treasures might not be artifacts pulled from anomaly fields, but truth wrestled from the very heart of a world gone mad. And so their legacy drifts on, carried by the swamp breeze, an unfulfilled promise, a cautionary tale, and a quiet plea that maybe, someday, someone else will try to understand the zone's secret language and succeed where they could not. Thank you all so much for again tuning in to one of these videos. The response over the past month has been extremely positive and reassuring. If you haven't already, check out some of the other videos I've made on different factions and characters within the S.T.A.L.K.E.R universe. Like I mentioned earlier, I am planning on expanding out into different games as there's only so much lore within the S.T.A.L.K.E.R universe. If you have any suggestions for games or genres or anything that you think could be a good avenue to create some content on, I would really like to hear it down in the comments below. Or you can join the Discord that I've made, and there's a section in there where you can put down suggestions for content ideas. Thank you all again, and take care.